lead singer named Justin Moore.
We don't do a whole lot of bullshitting up here. We just get up here and play country music.
The Justin Moore Podcast is sponsored by Bobcat. Visit them at bobcat.com.
Hey, check, 1, 2. Everything still works. It's amazing. It's a miracle. It's a New Year miracle. It's a 2022 miracle. Welcome back, everybody, to the Justin Moore Podcast. I'm your old buddy, old pal, JR the Handler. And with me today on the namesake of this podcast is the newest morning show member of the Morning Mayhem in Little Rock, Arkansas, country music's own, Arkansas's own, Justin Moore. What's up, JM?
We're back. It's funny. It's
Don't
funny,
jinx us like Cam Newton now. Watch out.
Yeah.
Didn't work out for him after that one time.
That's a good point. We no, you mentioned the radio show, and actually somebody called in the other day and said, "Man, when is your podcast coming back?" Because the sister station airs the podcast,
Right?
And obviously people can find it anywhere you find your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, all that good stuff. But nonetheless, I digress. They said, "Hey, when's your podcast coming back?" Because we took a couple of weeks off, obviously, around the new year. And it said, because my Thursdays suck without y'all's podcast. So I thought that was good.
Yeah.
It's good to know that
Absolutely.
people are missing us. It's
Yeah.
better than the alternative.
Yep. The 400 or 500 y'all that listen to me babble every week, I promise you I do it for y'all every time. Every time. Well, hey, I got to ask. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, at the end of last season, it might have been our last podcast. I think it was the last one of last year when we had Cody on. You gave up some of the goods. We finally got some good stories out of you. So maybe if you guys enjoyed that, and I'm sure you did, maybe we'll pull some more of those out this year.
Yeah, it was good. I did what I've been doing to people for 2 years now. I get them in their comfort zone and then get them to talk about stuff they normally wouldn't say when they're getting interviewed and talking about stuff. So it was great. That's pulling back the curtain. That's what happens. Victim of my own methods. And, I had fun talking about it. I had fun talking with some people about it. Yes, I'm hungover right now. I did overindulge last night, taking a devastating defeat to the hands of the Georgia Bulldogs. They beat my Crimson Tide pretty good last night. It was a great game, though. Congrats to them. They needed it. Been a long time. I hope they enjoy it. That's the, I don't know what would have happened if they wouldn't have Stover and all the boys might have exploded. But that assistant finally got the old boss, and they got it done. So congrats to the Georgia Bulldogs. All them, y'all enjoy it. I'm glad somebody in the South SEC. I never do hate Georgia, so it's not like I'm all pissy about it, because my buddy Grice, my best buddy, is Georgia guy, and Brad.
That's
so
right. I forgot about Grice being a Georgia fan.
Oh, I've watched him so sad so many times, and he's learned not to even say anything. But it was a great game. No excuses. It was one for the ages. They'll be, I look forward to seeing them again down the road. They got a good team, and
I said this on the radio this morning. I was a little hungover this morning as well, because I took it hard too.
Did you? Hard to paint
for you, and I am happy for my brother from another mother, Jeremy Stover,
and Brantley, and Colt,
and some of those. I'm not so happy for all of them.
Yeah, right, exactly. I'm happy for a few of them, but not all of them. I'm happy for the real
obviously,
ones.
I'm pulling for you too, obviously.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
Now that I'm on the radio getting paid to talk sports, I gave my prediction, and, of course, I went Roll Tide, and, of course, I was wrong on that. But I said this on the radio, man, if those teams play 10 times, it may be an even split.
Right.
I mean, there's so much parity between the two. There's so little difference, and it's just the minor little things that happen throughout the game. You know, if Jamison Williams don't get hurt, y'all may not lose that game because y'all were up with 10 minutes to go. I mean, and the score was not indicative of how close the game was. That was just the
9-3 was
the pick six that happened at the end of the game is what inflated the number.
Right.
But
9-3 is what the game looked like. That 9-3 was what the game looked like. Or 9-6.
The reason why I did pick Alabama because Georgia's great. I went and watched them play Arkansas this year, and I was on the sideline, and I mean they were really, really impressive. Obviously, I mean they manhandled us, but so I knew they were good, but the reason why I didn't think they would beat Alabama is because of the difference in quarterbacks. You know, Bennett is okay. I mean, I wouldn't even consider him above average in the SEC. They've got great pieces around him, and other than the fumble last night, he played pretty good. He hit him for a couple of deep shots, one in particular later in the game that was a big play for him. But I thought there's no way that they can keep up. But you guys just couldn't punch it in the end zone. Their defense just was too stout, you know.
They were so fast on the corners. I mean, their corners backs were all over us. I mean, it was it was just hard. They're phenomenal. I mean,
and Bryce Young, man, he's incredible. You don't want to blame it on injuries, but certainly y'all were missing Mechie and Williams. Because Bryce Young, later in the game, when it was still a game, I mean, when y'all had an opportunity to still win with, 4 or 5 minutes left or whatever it was, he put passes right on the money 2 or 3 different times.
In the hand, just couldn't bring it in.
And they just dropped them.
Freshman,
flat dropped them.
Dropped them, freshman.
Yeah, just like, man. And I mean, the passes he was making was incredible. It was on the run and deep, and to put the ball in the places he did, I was really, really impressed with. And you just expect, even though they're freshmen, you just expect as a spectator, you just expect if they're in an Alabama uniform, they're gonna haul them in. But those guys, they just didn't, and I'm sure that experience will probably help them down the road next year and maybe the year following.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I said, it's just one of those. I mean, it is what it is. It was a great game. What a great season, college football. I mean, you guys won your bowl game. That's huge.
Yeah.
Red Akins. I mean, Stetson. Every time I saw him, I thought about Redo during the game last night. Because remember, Rhett was like, we talked to Rhett about it. I don't even think it was on the podcast, but just in general, we talked to Rhett one time this year or last year about that. He was saying Stetson looked like him when he went to school. Same size, same this.
Right.
Because remember, he was quarterback there. But that's what I kept thinking about last night. I was like, damn you, Redo.
Yeah.
Deer heads.
It's hard to believe it's been 40 years since Georgia's won.
41.
40 years.
41, yeah.
Or 41 years.
Yeah, guess who won the year before them? Bama. 79
Really?
year I was born. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That was the last one of Bear Bryant's.
But you think about how many great teams they've had in the last 40 years. I mean, I don't remember prior to Mark Richt off the top of my head, but I'm sure they were really good under, was it Donnan that was there maybe before Mark Richt? Jim Donnan, maybe.
I don't remember.
Anyway, they had good teams under him. They had great teams under Rick, and they've had great teams ever since Kirby's been there. So it's really kind of hard to believe it's been that long.
Yep.
I'm sure their fan base is ecstatic, man.
Yep.
I can't imagine.
Oh, I know. I remember.
And they had to slay the giant to do it.
Right. Yeah. I remember LSU. They were so pumped. I remember I was happy for them when they finally got over it. They got one done. And I remember when Clemson finally got one done. And, there's a path there. They come and they go. They come and they go.
Here's the thing. I'm happy for all my Georgia buddies.
I don't want to get started. We got to change the
See
subject
y'all
soon.
again in 40 years, hopefully.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I
We'll
think
change
they're
it.
here to stay.
It was funny. You'll appreciate this. You know my buddy Cody Oxley, Big Ox out in Texas. He's a Georgia. He's a Georgia guy. He's from Georgia. He just lives out in Texas. Has for a long time. But he and Wally, my best bud on the road, Jamie's tour manager, and we're on a text thread. It's just us three. We text each other shit all the time. And
Right.
Cody's the Georgia guy. Me and Wally don't ever even really talk about Bama stuff. But in this text thread, we realize even on that we've never discussed it, but we were the same way. Cody wanted so hard and we were like, congrats, that's it. And he's like, y'all just can't be happy for me. I'm like, no, just stop. I said congrats, all you're getting, quit fishing, no,
Right.
go back to your cave, be happy, celebrate, I remember my first one, all that stuff. But he wanted us, and Wally is the same. He's not, it's just funny. But anyway, it was pretty funny.
I do have to take up for you because you're probably the most humble Alabama fan on the planet. Not that I've met a ton, but it's so funny because we haven't been close to a national championship in my lifetime in football, but I couldn't be as humble as you. I'm all the time telling you, like, man, I love this team or this player, or y'all should do this, or I think y'all make it this far, or what. And you're like, man, I don't know. You always downplay it.
Yeah, you got to. That's just me. If I get too excited about something in life, it's going to implode in my face before it happens. I can never get too comfortable. I can't talk smack. I could be up 19 to 2 on you in basketball, and I still won't talk smack because I know if I do, you'll rattle off 19 in a row and beat me. So I just know me and my bad luck with that stuff. But also, that's just, there's enough arguing about other stuff. I just try to be cool about it. But there's the ones that fire me up. So it's just these don't fire me up. So
Stover.
Not a little bit. He can get me fired up. All of them can, but I mean the team wise, we were. If this would have been Michigan, I'd have been a little different. You know what I mean? Or if USC or Penn State or any of them ones that I, or Tennessee even or Auburn. That's just our traditional rivals, the ones that I've just always watched. Or Notre Dame, and then pull their crap, and I'm like, get out of here. So
yeah, speaking of Penn State, you mentioned Penn State. That's who Arkansas played in their bowl game. I don't think we've done a podcast since.
No, we haven't. Thank you though.
Since the bowl game. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I hate them historically.
You and I both.
Joe Paul used to have Bear Bryant's number. Was kind of the thing, back in the day. We beat him.
Oh,
but
really?
I think he was up on the Bear or something. I was like. Anyway,
yeah.
So I can't never like them.
But I do have to give credit to their fans, man. They were really, really nice, and they were even. It got to a point they were even doing the hog call, which is just unbelievable. It was crazy because us, we would never. If let's say Penn State or Michigan's got some cheer, and maybe they do, and we don't know it. We would never do that. We would have left PO'd and wanted to just go back to our room. And it was New Year's Day, so, we were hanging out. And, we'd see them in the hotel and they high five us. I'm talking after the game, after we beat them down. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But I made a note. I was like, I got to point out, how awesome they were as fans. It was like, it was a whole different ball game than the SEC. We're
right.
all you wouldn't see an Ole Miss fan and a LSU fan high fiving or whatever the case is.
Right. Hell, they just happy to be there, I guess.
I guess so, but and then I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, we got a lot of buddies in Pennsylvania, and they're all cool.
Yeah.
We got good friends there. Matter of fact, you're got the hookup from one of them recently.
Frankie, yeah. Well, most of those guys, though, like Dave and Rich, are Pitt fans. But But even though Rich went to Penn State, he's a Pitt guy.
And I found that out during the game. I had no idea. We've known each other for obviously so long, and I had no clue. And so he texted me during the game. He goes, we were dominating at the time, and he said, Arkansas is cheating or something. I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, you didn't know I went to Penn State? I go, no, I did not know that. But anyway,
he and Dave both. We were talking about Rich. Rich is our financial advisor, and Dave is our bass player, obviously. And they're both from Pittsburgh area. And but Rich went to Penn State, and Dave's dad grew him like ours did us. He was a Pitt guy. They didn't like Penn State, so
he went to Pitt.
Yeah. He went to Pitt and all that. And so yeah. But Rich said it was hard. He said, yeah, I went to school there, but I was like, it's Pitt over Penn State. But you know,
and you know, take it a step further. Other than us having buddies there, we, you know, every time we go there for a show, it's great. I mean, the fans are always awesome. They come out in droves, and so I was surprised at how happy they were after a drubbing, but then I got to thinking about it. The whole point is I got to thinking about it. I'm like, well, why wouldn't they be? They're always cool every time we go there. So all the folks listening in Pennsylvania, appreciate y'all being cool, in particular the Penn State fans that were in Florida and Tampa. Yeah. I guess we'll go ahead and knock all the sports talk out here at the top of the show. I know a lot of you like the sports and a lot of you don't. So sorry to those who don't. But it was a national championship. I mean, you got to talk about the national championship game. It's kind of an event like the Super Bowl. I mean, even people that don't like football watch the Super Bowl for different reasons. And speaking of the Super Bowl, it's coming up about a month from today, actually, the 13th, which is when this comes out or is out now while you're listening. But did you watch any NFL games this past weekend? Because it was ridiculous. There was some ridiculous stuff go on.
I did watch some. Obviously, I watched the Saints. Thought we were going to go to the playoffs. And
won.
Won. And then, because because the Rams lost, we don't get to go to the playoffs. If we'd have won and the Rams won, we go to the playoffs. Rams lost, so we don't go to the playoffs now.
Really?
Yep, we needed both, and the Rams should have won, and they blew it.
Well, so for those out there listening that are not super familiar, I know some of you are. I'm a Steelers fan, and they had to have crazy, ridiculous things happen for them to go to the playoffs. Also, they had to win at Baltimore, which is their most hated rival, and it's always a slobber knocker, so to speak. You know, it's never an easy game, regardless of what shape either team's in. And so they had to win that game, which they did in overtime. Like almost ran out of time in overtime, to which it ends in a tie. Right. They had to have Jacksonville win against Indianapolis. Jacksonville had won 2 games
right.
all year. 2 games, fired the coach, Urban Meyer. They had won 2 games all year. Indianapolis, all they have to do to get into the playoffs is win that game. That's it.
Yeah. They ain't scored like 20 points all year.
No.
and they score like 40.
Yeah, they beat Indianapolis down. I mean, beat them down, which is just crazy. It shouldn't have nobody would have guessed that would ever happen.
Yep.
So so at the end of the Steelers game, which the Steelers game again was ridiculous, but they end up pulling out a win in overtime. The only thing that keeps them out of the playoffs at this point, everybody's celebrating. I even listened to Steelers postgame, and they're going, can you believe they've made this miraculous run, and they're into the postseason? And on top of it, Ben Roethlisberger's retiring, their longtime quarterback. He's been the quarterback there for 18 seasons and Hall of Famer to be. And nobody thought it was going to happen. They were going to get in the playoffs. So they're going, they get in the playoffs, you know, and they're celebrating. And I'm thinking, don't jinx it, because the only thing that could keep them out of the playoffs is the Sunday night game, the Rams versus the Raiders.
Right.
So I didn't know this about the Saints. So the only thing that would have kept the Steelers out is if those two tied.
And they could have tied.
Oh, very easily could have tied. On top of that, if they tie, both of them get into the playoffs, the Raiders and the Rams, okay? But it didn't matter to the Steelers. They just had to have somebody win. It didn't matter which one. So had the Rams won, the Steelers and the Saints would have gotten into the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So what happens is it's about a 2-touchdown game in favor of the Raiders, I believe. I could be – yeah, the Raiders were up like 2 touchdowns with maybe 8 minutes to go in the game, something like that. The Rams score. I don't remember if they converted on a 2-point conversion or they didn't. Nonetheless, it's a touchdown game. The Rams have the ball, no time left on the clock. They have one play from like the 10-yard line, 12-yard line, something like that. With time expiring, they throw it into the end zone, tie the ball game with a touchdown. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. They're going to overtime. So the overtime rules are as such in the NFL. If you play an entire overtime quarter, which I believe is 10 minutes, and you end in a tie, then it ends in a tie. So they go all the way through. Overtime, and they're still tied. And you're going, as a Steeler fan, I'm going, you got to be kidding me. This game's going to end in a tie. And by the way, again, let me reiterate that both teams would have been fine with the tie, because they both get into the playoffs. And really, as an NFL team, that's your goal. Regardless how it happens, you got to find a way to get in. So with like 38 seconds left, it's looking like, well, they're just going to end in a tie. They're going to kneel on the ball. They'll both be happy, and that's it. And so, long story short, the Rams call a timeout. Raiders have the ball. They make another run or two, and with time expiring, I think there was 3 seconds or something on the clock, the Raiders make a field goal, and that's how the Steelers get in the playoffs. It was just crazy. I mean, the whole thing was, the Steelers had to win in overtime. Then it was riding on the kick of some kid on a whole different team. But the whole thing was nuts. But if you're a sports fan, in particular a football fan, it was entertaining. I mean, there was some moments where I was about to pull my hair out, but it was crazy. Oh my gosh.
I bet, man. I bet. Well, hey, talking about sports and entertaining and being entertainment, we got to go back and talk about the radio show a little more, because I know everybody on here, I've been listening to you some, and they've been listening. I know it's been fun because you get to talk about Arkansas for 4 hours every day. But from my standpoint, I'm like, we talk on this thing once a week for a while. How has the transition been from going to getting ready to do a podcast once a week and having stuff to think about all week and, to go back and talk about over a couple of hours? Because, I mean, we do an hour or two every week. But then how is that different from going and doing 4 hours every day of the week?
Well, I kind of look at my role. I'm one of 4 on the show. So I kind of look at my role as like, I'm just the guy who floats around and just spot up shoots. You know what I mean? Or I'm the 6th man that comes off the bench just for a little spark. And then I go back and sit on the bench for a while. So the difference in this and that for me is that, you and I are 50-50 on this deal, whether it be interviewing somebody or whether it be me rambling for 15 straight minutes about the NFL playoffs like I just did. And so you and I both have to be really engaged in this for the entire 2 hours or whatever it is, hour and a half that we're on here. Whereas, I got a lot of teammates, if you will, during that. And so I'm not the ramrodder I'm not the guy who has to basically, I'm not the quarterback.
Steer the ship. Yeah, you're not steering the ship.
I don't have to steer the ship, and quite honestly, on here, I don't do that either. You do.
Well, we kind of take turns, though. I mean, but we both do, yeah. But at least we got each other, yeah.
I jump in if I feel as though I can add something of value. It's I feel like you and I relate everything to sports, but that's what we know. I mean, it's like, if you're on the basketball court, it's basketball season now. So I'll relate it to basketball, and you go, man, we haven't scored in, 4 or 5 possessions, and this guy and this guy are kind of struggling right now. Well, maybe I look for my shot a little more.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or is it kind of like it could? I'm thinking in my head, it could almost be like it's me and you playing 2-on-2, or you're playing 5-on-5 with somebody.
Right.
You ain't got to do all the dribbling and rebounding.
Right.
We could even lay back and on our knees hands on our knees for a minute, catch a breath while they work that side of the court or something. You know?
It's not unlike that, especially if you relate. This would be more like 2-on-2.
Right.
The podcast, the radio show is more like 5-on-5, which I'm much better at because I know my role. I play my role. And it's kind of that, I know what my role is. I'm certainly still learning. I'm not a professional at that, but it's easy for me because obviously very well that I'm obsessed with sports, and anybody who listens to this knows that about you and I both. But and I'm really knowledgeable. I don't say that boastfully. I just know a lot about sports. Just because I
in
eat,
particular
sleep, and breathe
Arkansas
it.
for sure.
In particular Arkansas. So, I'm kind of the guy on the show at this point that kind of breaks down the basketball stuff because a couple of the other guys are just not as well versed in that area. They didn't really play the game. I see it from a kind of a player's perspective, even though I didn't obviously play in college, but I understand the game and what our issues are right now, and Arkansas has plenty.
You and I both on that. What happened before the end of the season last year? Me and you were rocking in basketball, then we have
rocking. And started off the year rocking. We're both like 10-0 at one point. We were in the top 10. I think y'all obviously were too. And
Now we're 24 and we're playing number 4 Auburn tomorrow night.
Yeah, and Auburn looks like world beaters. I mean, they look like the best team in the league. I'll be honest with you.
I know.
They look like a Final Four team. But anyway.
So, well, I was wondering about that because I thought, like I said, I know we talk on here, but then having to do that. And you guys, too, y'all have commercial breaks and things like that. Yeah. So it's more chopped up. Well, how about go ahead.
A lot of guests, too. I was just going to say a lot of guests, too. And the thing that's been interesting for me, I don't know if you've caught any of them, but, I don't know any of these kids, but with the NIL stuff, name, image, and likeness, for those who don't know what that means, legislation was passed last year now, I guess, to where college athletes can be paid for their name, image, and likeness. And prior to last year, that was not a possibility. Which is a whole can of worms and rabbit hole we don't need to go down because it's being used in recruiting, and that's not what it was meant for, blah, 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 whatever. But, we have, like, basketball players on, like, the day after they either win or get beat by somebody. Like, we talked to our starting center the other day, and, prior to the game, and it's cool for me.
Yeah,
I'm watching the game, and I get to talk, and me being, like I said, probably the most
Arkansas's biggest super fan
basketball guy on the show. Like, they look to me like, all right, you talk to him. Like, so,
basketball. Yeah.
So it's cool. I got to tell it, and I love the kid. His name's Jalen Williams, number 10. He's our starting center. Really good player. Great passer for a big. But he's really good offensively, but he's really unselfish to the point, like, I think he needs to shoot more. So the first thing I tell him, I go, man, Jalen, love your game. Introduce myself. Love your game, man. I love the fact that you're such a great passer and willing passer as a big man, which, as you know, is not often the case.
No.
I said, but I need you to take like 10 more shots a game.
Right.
So
especially around the
it's
basket.
cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's honestly, it's just kind of cool to me. It's neat to me to be able to say that to the, so
Right.
it's been pretty fun, man. I've enjoyed it. I have not enjoyed, however, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Woo.
To drive in. I'll have a setup to where I can do it at home in the future and can sleep a little later. And on the bus, certainly, it's so funny, JR, because it's kind of stopped now, but the first 5, 6, 7 shows every day was constantly, Justin, man, I can't believe you're giving up music. Man. And I'm like, no. So
nope.
Anybody
got a big
out there,
tour lined up. Nope, about to announce that next. That's coming next.
Anybody out there listening who has thought maybe I'm retiring from music or quitting music or slowing down at music at all could not be further from the truth. We are not doing this. This is literally something that I will do from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. That's it. And I'll miss a lot too because of music. But, everybody's like, man, how you going to do that on the road? And I've explained to people right now while I'm home, I'm going into the studio. Well, I live 50 minutes from the studio. It's in Little Rock, and we're, 50 minutes south of there. So I have to get up at 4, leave by 4:45 and drive in order to be there on time. And it really hadn't been as bad as I thought. I do get tired in the afternoons and I've taken an hour nap here and there, but it hadn't been as hard on me as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Now I'm only 2 weeks in, so
right.
But to the question about how am I going to do this on the road, it'll honestly be much easier on the road. Number one, it won't be but for like a day, maybe 2 days. I mean, we're typically only going to be on the road during the week on a Thursday or Friday for the most part. And if I got to be on the air at 6, I'll get up at 5:45 and be on the air at 6.
Right.
I won't have to get up at 4 o'clock like I am right now.
Right.
So and then during the middle of the day, JR knows this, but again, more insight as to what we do and how we do it. After 10 a.m. when I'm done, I don't have anything to do till like 10 p.m. So,
right.
or 8 p.m., 9 p.m.,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I got all day. I can take me a nap. I can do whatever.
Right.
So,
Right.
I'm not retiring from music, and I'm not slowing down from music, so please spread the word if you're listening to this.
And we're not stopping the podcast. The podcast will keep rocking.
No, podcast keep rocking. You know what's funny? I told
Can't
you
get
this.
rid of us.
I think I told you this on the phone, but so we get a phone call at the show the other day, a guy in Minnesota who I took a picture with at a show when we were up there. If I'm not mistaken, we played a theater up there.
Was it Minneapolis?
I think so.
The one
theater
that was
or casino
with
or
Tracy?
Yeah, a theater.
Yeah.
And I remember meeting some people out by the bus. But anyway, long story short.
Yeah, well, they wanted their vinyl signed and all that
stuff signed.
The mom and the kids.
I think
and all
out by the bus. And And the woman ran from the hotel. Her husband was out there, and the woman ran.
Yes.
And her hair was wet because she was in the shower or something.
Yep.
We came back from golf or something.
Yep, you and Todd and Tracy. Todd, our new buddy Todd from up there, took you and Tracy to go play golf. And then when you got back, I told him if y'all hang out. But it was kind of rough area. And I was like...
Yeah, it really was.
But
and
anyway,
weird. It was kind of strange up there because of the COVID stuff. And
yeah, but they all had all your vinyl, wanted it signed. So I was like, hang out, I'll get him to sign it. Yeah, I remember
So a guy in Minnesota calls into an Arkansas radio station, and he's like, hey, I'm, in Minnesota, blah, blah, blah. Justin, saw you at Minneapolis and got a picture. Thanks. Just want to say thanks, yada, yada, whatever. And so my co-host goes, so are you from Arkansas and moved to Minnesota for a job? Because he started the call off by saying, hey, I'm so-and-so, go Hogs, whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, just a Justin fan who been to 6 of his shows and not a Razorback or wasn't ever a Razorback fan, but I am now. Just knew Justin was going to do this, so I've been listening on the app every day. It's
awesome.
It was cool. So
Yeah,
if you're listening to this podcast, forgive me for not remembering your name. Either call back or touch base with JR on social media and let us know your name, because I just thought that was kind of neat. And it also reminded me to tell everybody on here, even if you're out of state, it's not all Arkansas sports. It's a lot of pop culture stuff and old school. We talk Westerns. I mean, it's kind of a barbershop talk kind of thing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff other than just Razorback sports. We talk NFL and NBA and stuff like that. But I would encourage anybody out there that's looking for something to listen to, in the morning.
Yeah.
Go on the Buzz, BUZZ app. 103.7 The Buzz. You can
Y'all have a Buzz app?
Wherever. Yep.
Okay, I didn't even know the Buzz app. See, I've been going to TuneIn because I have Buzz saved as one of my favorites,
I use TuneIn myself. You can also do that. But there is an app.
I'm going to get the
if
app.
you guys want to check it out.
Because I probably don't have to listen to as many commercials. I don't pay for the I use the free TuneIn thing. Yeah,
I've been listening to some. I use the free one too.
It's like I just wait for this commercial to end. It's fine. But no, I've enjoyed it, and I knew you'd be great at it because, it's kind of like this has been like warming up for it. You've been practicing doing this for a couple of years. You've gotten good at doing this.
It's been great experience.
I bet,
this
man.
has been.
And then I know your knowledge. I mean, I've already heard them say a few times you're like the encyclopedia and I know this. I'm just glad the world's finally seeing what I've had to deal with for 8 or 9 years now when it comes to the depth. And I tell people all the time, like, y'all don't understand. I know people in Alabama that are that fanatical, but I don't know people outside of the state of Alabama that are as fanatical. And people think they are, but they're not. But I know. And I'm like, he's that fanatical. He would tell you, like, you're like my buddy Worm. I got a buddy back home, Big Worm. I could tell him I could be like 94 Tennessee game, third quarter, name our starting defensive line or whatever. He picks up and he'll know it. That's kind of like you. But I was like, Justin's so bad. He'll know that, but he'll also know that their sister is being recruited or their niece is being recruited to come play now. And they're also looking at her little brother who's in 8th grade that might be a baseball player one day or something crazy like that. But I thought it was great. But a thing I was wondering about, when you were talking about getting up early, I thought about that, and I think I mentioned to you, we talked the other day on the phone, was I know normally on the bus, we both get up and we don't talk to each other for a while. We used to always give Joey the stink eye because Joey would jump up, hey, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I want to recap last night. You need some coffee? I'm like, Joey, I need you to leave me alone for about an hour. You know what I mean? So I was wondering so are you on the coffee again? Are you doing coffee again?
No, I stopped by. There's a gas station chain here that I stopped. They have really good tea. Okay. And they have 44-ounce cups.
So you just get your big old unsweet tea?
I've got one right now.
Nice. So you just do a big old unsweet tea.
Yeah, just huge.
And that's enough caffeine to get you pumping in the morning. So
44 ounces, I think, is enough. Yeah.
So that drive, though, but you're getting a little bit now because you're driving to town. So that's kind of like you're waking up. You're probably listening to some stuff, getting your mind firing. Yeah,
for sure. Like the 45-minute, 50-minute drive actually helps.
Right.
With that. And I still don't. So, if I get up at 4:15 and I'm not on the air till 6:15, it gives me a good 2 hours before I have to talk to anybody, because certainly nobody in my house is up. So it's honestly, it's kind of nice.
I bet.
Once you're up, and I've always been this way, if you can train yourself to be up early in the morning, I do enjoy that time of the day.
It's the best.
I just don't hardly ever see it.
Same here, and it's the best. It's absolutely the best. Prime example. A couple of days ago, I I met some lady. I bought a bookshelf off of Facebook Marketplace. I was going to meet her up in Robertsdale. I asked Sharice, she needed me to do anything while I was up there. She said, "Yeah, you can drop this off at Dillard's. Get a store credit for something she needed to return at Dillard's, which is the mall's. It's 45 minutes from here." So I was like, yeah, I'll do it while I'm up there. I went and ran this errand, got this bookcase, did all this. Get there to Dillard's. I'm like, God, I'm going to get a good parking spot. Nobody's here. It ain't open yet. You don't open like 10 or 11. It's like 9 a.m. I'm there. I'm just not used to getting up, out doing things that early. I was like, oh, yeah, it's It's not even open yet. So, but
Yeah.
you get so, especially this time of the year with the sun goes down at 5 o'clock. I mean, if you don't
Exactly,
get up early,
yeah.
you're just not getting a lot done. So, yeah, that'll be it. Because I know, and behind the curtain thing, I know I've seen you before when we've laid out and really poured one on, and have to get up at the crack of dawn to jump on some radio interview or interview thing or Zoom or something, and you just be like, 5 minutes late,
Yeah.
I'm banging on your door, you look like death. I'm like, you're like, trying to brush your teeth, trying to chug a Gatorade, liquid IV, and then, but then as soon as it's time, it's like, boop, you're on, and I'm the only one that. As soon as it's over, you're like, whoa, So
Yeah.
I figured if you could do that, you could do this, because half the time you're just on those. No offense to radio, a lot of times just regurgitating the same 5 or 6 questions the last one I asked you yesterday, if it's album release or upcoming tour stuff or something. But this is, your Arkansas stuff, so it's different stuff firing off.
And the difference too there is, I don't have to be. I don't have all the pressure, I guess. I can say something that's right or wrong. It really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, whereas if I'm getting up to, let's say we're up late and, like you said, time went on, I got to get up and be on the Today Show. Yeah. Or Fox and Friends or whatever the show is. Like, it's all on me. Yeah. They ask me what they ask me. I don't know what they're going to ask me. And, I can say something or look real stupid. It's all on me. I'm just one little piece of the pie, and so.
Yeah. That's kind of like even with the show, it's like, if we had same thing, if we had an early show, like every now and then we have like a noontime show for some random something,
just miserable.
Oh yeah, early, and we not like we change our routine the night before just because we have an early show. No, got to do what you got to do. You got the same routine every day.
Where it will be difficult for me is, let's say Thursday night, and we don't get off stage until 11
midnight or something. Yeah,
and I don't wind down till 2. That next morning will be tough. But again,
it's one day.
They understand what they got in me, and so they're like, yeah, if you got a late one like that, you don't want to call in, don't call in that day. Right. We're cool with it. We get that you do that for a living. This is just a side deal. Or if you want to, wait till 9 and be on the 9 o'clock hour or what, you know what I mean? So so their willingness to work with me is what allowed me to even be able to accept this position. Otherwise, I wouldn't have.
And we hadn't even been able.
Certainly not giving music up. Right.
But now we got a lot of cool music stuff happening this year.
Yeah, for sure. And the other, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead, buddy.
The other thing, man, as far as just to wrap a bow on this subject is, it's really not that it was an issue or anything to that nature, but it's making me, behave at night with the drinking and stuff. Like I'm like, I got to be on point tomorrow. So exactly, for a lot of reasons, I think it's going to be good for me. It may force me into a healthier lifestyle. I started eating clean last week. You and I talked off the air. I started eating clean last week. I'm going to try to drop like 10 pounds.
We'll get on our DDPY.
Get on the DDPY again. And so you and I got to hold each other accountable.
Of course, my memory card's full. Sorry, Cody. Going to have to use my Zoom video from here forward.
Time out. Yeah, so I thought, the only negative to the whole thing is getting up early, and I'm trying to, mentally turn that into a positive. So
yeah, and it was a weird last year or two for us in general. We had to do what we had to do to get through it, but this might be our motivation to get back to doing stuff and practicing, getting ready by doing the podcast, keeping us engaged. Now you're turning that into another side hustle that's beneficial for everything that involves the umbrella of JM Enterprises. And then thinking about this, we hadn't even implemented this yet, but it just occurred to me, even when you do have to do it on the road, we've been practicing for that too. Like I just mentioned, we're used to both of us having an alarm. I look down, I don't see any light flacking by your door. I bang on the thing. You know, we get up, we get a Gatorade or a drink going, whatever we got to do. We do this, we get the light. I mean, you know, we kind of. I mean, you had to jump on and talk. Yeah. Well, sometimes, hell, you've had to do interviews for 3 or 4 hours. I mean, straight. So with, you know, and this and that. So we'll, it's going to be great, man. It's going to be good.
It'll be fun.
And like I told you, the only thing I'm requesting is I got to have a direct line. So when I want to get my comments and
I got
questions
it, actually. I got it for you. Because I told him yesterday, I said, my tour manager was trying to call in, but he couldn't get in, so they gave me a direct line for you.
Awesome.
So I got to send that to you. So
there you get a little bonus.
So maybe you can be a returning character on the show.
Yeah, that'd be great, man.
Maybe during football season or something, you can call in and talk football. College football each week or something.
Yeah,
it'd be fun.
Yeah, I man, it like I said, it's been fun for me listening. It's a lot of, like I told you, I said, boy, it's a lot of talking going on over there. People think I talk fast, and I talk a lot. There's a lot of action going on, but it's entertaining, man. It's funny. I love too how when y'all come out of a break, there's always the country music song usually playing. They'll always ask you who it is.
Yeah, they never know.
They never know who it is. The 3 times in a row I've listened, it's been Party.
Yeah,
I mean, y'all, is that all that come out of breaks in John's music?
Yeah, exactly. It's like. It's funny too. Like, so there's a couple of guys who are 58 on the show, and there are a couple, myself included, who are in our late 30s.
Right.
So
there's a little gap.
You know, the old guys are like the older guys are like, y'all probably be too young to remember this, but. And then I'll spit it out, and they're like,
they don't know you.
Hey, they don't know me.
They don't know you.
As a matter of fact, one of them said to me through text yesterday, he goes, man, you're really doing well with all the older stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, like,
we've been doing this for years,
man.
And then you and I have these same conversations for years. We've been discussing these same things.
Yeah, well, and he'll go. You just have to know him. He's funny, great guy. David Basil. He was an All-American linebacker at Arkansas. Has done a ton for state of Arkansas. Just a sweetheart of a guy. But he's kind of, he's lovable, but he's kind of goofy. I don't even know if that's the right word, but in a good way. I mean, it's fun-loving.
A little Don Grisham-esque.
It may be, but he he'll go, he thinks faster than he spits it out. You know what I mean? Like he just all the time rambling, but he goes, he'll say something like, you probably had never heard of Crosby, Stills and Nash, have you? And I'm like, yes. I mean, or you know who Johnny Cash is? Or I'm like. Just because they were back in the day, like that's what I listened to.
Right.
You know, people have asked on the podcast, what does Justin listen to? I listen to all the old stuff.
The same classic country channel you've always listened to.
And classic rock.
Yep.
And
classic rock.
You know what I mean?
Southern
Like
rock. Yep.
So
John Conley radio channel on Spotify is probably your go-to if you're at the beach.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny to me, but I say that to say this. He's like blown away that I know. I'm like, I'm almost 40, so I mean, I'm not super young. I mean, I wish I were.
Right.
But I also, when I grew up in the late 80s, early to mid 90s or whatever, like I listened to the 70s stuff and hell, I've made my career in music. Like I'm I'm well aware of all of these people who influence these people that influence me, and you know what I mean. Like I'm very familiar.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. Like one of the questions yesterday was, it was an ad what was the biggest ad campaign? I don't know if it was the anniversary of the date.
I remember that. Yeah.
Were you listening then?
I was listening to that, yeah.
It came out in 84.
Yeah. Where's the Beef?
It was Where's the Beef?
Yep.
That was going to be my guess.
Yeah.
Somebody else guessed it before I did, but that would have been, we were going around and that was going to be my guess. He's like, really? I'm like, hell, everybody knows Where's the Beef.
Where's the beef?
I mean,
Where's the beef? Yeah, that was huge. That was a great commercial. We still talking about it. That's crazy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's T-shirts of it and stuff
later.
nowadays.
Yeah.
So, kind of funny.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, so y'all go listen to that. It's been great. I look forward to listening every day and catching it and then wrangling it once we're on the road. That's going to be fun. Talking about Johnny Cash, I was just pulling something up here. This is a random this day in country music, which today we're recording this is January the 11th, which is my little brother James's birthday. Happy birthday, Broham.
Oh, is it?
Yep, and because he shares a birthday with your buddy Dustin Green.
Yeah, that's right. I'm glad you mentioned that because he's one of my best friend's birthday today. I need to send him a text.
Yep.
I should have told him on the radio.
Yep. So today, January 11, 1967, Johnny Carter and June Carter recorded their duet "Jackson," which went on to win a couple of Grammy Awards in '68 for Best Country and Western Performance Duet. Written in '63 by Billy Ed Wheeler and Jerry Lieber. Nancy Sinatra. Oh, no, Nancy Sinatra and Lee Hazelwood also scored a hit with the song. So that was it. This day in '67, Jackson came. I'm going to Jackson. Great tune. Youngsters out there ought to know that one in case you and if it's a guy and a girl get up, that's a good duet. But this is a random thought, and then I've got some fan stuff I want to get to but, we don't have a guest on today, so so we do the birthday #1 song in the country, and since he's not having a very good day today, I can imagine. I want to give a shout out to the GOAT, Nick Saban. We love you, Coach. He's a humble guy too. He knows what's up. I take notes from him all the time. Not as much as Charlie Daniels probably, but getting up there. But the #1 song in the country on October 31st, 1951, the day the GOAT was born.
His birthday is Halloween?
Yeah, 1951.
Of
He's
course
70.
His birthday's Halloween.
Halloween, yeah. He's going to give you a nightmare. We got one coming
I
from
mean,
Georgia
of
next
course
year, too.
that's
Mark
his
my words.
birthday.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll see y'all very soon. I want to take a wild guess. This is going to be tough. 1951, obviously, but it's a huge song that you've heard throughout. A lot of people have heard it's been redone. 51. Oh man! All right, let me see if I can give you some hints to help you. If we were doing one of those games where you got to give suggestions to help the person guess it. All right, I could give you one that would be easy because it's a play on words thing. But I don't want to do that. He's been name dropped in a bunch of songs. Waylon's name dropped him. A bunch of people have dropped him. He had a son who was son who was an artist. Let me see. I figure this one out. Man, this is gonna be tough.
Is it a song that I would know?
Hank and
Willie?
No.
Tennessee Williams?
You're in the right vein. I can't think of the song to give enough clues on it. He's not. I'll give you that. He's not a righty, but he's a
Lefty Frizzell.
There you go. So always
I think
late.
He's from Arkansas.
Is he always?
I could be wrong about that. Fair and Young, maybe.
Fair and Young. Yeah, the song was "Always Late with Your Kisses," Lefty Frizzell.
Oh yeah,
huge song.
You know how I would have known that? Hey Reese, I'm assuming that's Reese back there. I saw a hand.
Oh yeah, probably so. She's out here low over drinking water now.
Dwight Yoakam redid that.
Always
late with your kisses.
That's it.
Won't you come to my arms, sweet darling, and stay? Always late with your kisses.
Yes,
always late.
I knew
Why do you want to treat me this way? Yeah.
I knew it had been covered. What a huge song! But that was a song that came out on the #1 song in the country on the day of birth of one great Nick Saban. Don't know what Kirby Smarts is yet.
No, he's
get a
a
little more on your
guy.
Get a little more on your resume. I'll look it up one day, maybe.
Hey, speaking of Saban, Basil, who I was just talking about, David Basil, radio co-host. He brought this up today, and I hadn't heard this. Maybe you've heard this story. Maybe you haven't. It'll be funny if you haven't. So I don't know if you've noticed over the last couple of years, like he's mellowed a little. I mean, he still throws tantrums on the sideline, but he's not as grumpy as
he's more pawpaw than dad these days.
Yeah, and even I didn't see the post game because you'll be proud of me for this. I didn't even watch the end of the game. I didn't want to see the celebration. I didn't want to see post game. I was done. I just literally turned the TV off. I was so sickened by the result. But
I went and drank whiskey.
Does that not make you proud?
I'm so proud. And you know what I did? I went and listened to a Jamie Johnson record and drank the rest of that bottle of Jim Beam.
Of course you did. But so apparently on the post game last night, he was not like mad or pissy, or he was like really complimentary of Georgia and Kirby Smart, which I know Kirby was with him for a long time, and I'm sure that played a role. But he's never been like that. But apparently the story goes that his granddaughter came up to him sometime in the recent past, a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was, and said, "Pawpaw," or whatever she calls him, why are you always so mean? And he said at that point he knew he had to chill a little or whatever. So I don't know if you had heard that or read that story, but it was brought up today on the radio, and I didn't know it. I had never heard that.
So that might be it. Yeah, I saw he was he's talking with Bryce and Will Anderson afterwards, saying this one game doesn't define these guys, and he was just wanted to give a second for them and how hard they played, because I mean they really did. It was good, but hope we got him for a few more years. He's only 70, and with his high earning potential and modern technology, we're hoping to have him for at least another 20 or 30 years. So we'll see y'all down the road, Georgia and Clemson and LSU and whoever else wants to step up to the challenge on any particular year. But I had some other cool stuff I was just looking through real quick. Just we'll go through on Instagram some questions, comments. I'm still compiling all of these different ones, and I know we knocked a bunch out, or a lot of them out on the last couple episodes last year, so I'm trying to weed through and see which ones are still relevant and that kind of stuff. But use the hashtag Justin Moore Podcast when you interact with us on social media. Send me any questions or comments you have on Instagram or Twitter. I'm JR the Handler, or Instagram or Twitter. That's Justin Cole Moore. Got to have a blue check mark by Justin's name. And again, we've said this several times over the last 3 seasons. Justin or I will never reach out to you trying to talk to you on the side, ask you for money, ask you. Justin's not divorcing Kate, going to talk to you on Twitter for 2 years, because this is just not happening.
We're not going to date you.
No, none of that stuff. Justin does not go on there.
For money.
Justin's never going to talk to you. If anybody talks to you on any of his accounts, it's going to be Cody. And Cody doesn't just randomly talk to people. And if you talk to me, you know it's me. And so I'm just answering you now, no, Justin is not talking to you. And if it doesn't have a blue check mark, it's definitely not him, no side account. So I've seen so many different other people. I watched on Dr. Phil or somewhere the day this lady had lost her entire – 1 year away from paying for a house. She was 70 years old and thought she'd been dating Post Malone on the thing for 2 years, and had been sending this money to him, everything she'd ever worked for, and was in disbelief that it wasn't him and stuff.
I feel bad for these people,
so
man,
sad.
honestly.
So
I really
sad.
do. It's no different. You're being catfished. I mean,
if you think you're being scammed, you're being scammed. I promise
you brought it up. I think, I don't know, a few weeks ago, the lady who thought she'd been talking to me for years, which I know you're referencing, but it's sad. And so then what happens is, if you're telling people that, then it obviously looks bad for me, which I'm not doing it, but and my wife's well aware that I'm not, but then it pisses your husband off, or your ex-husband, or your boyfriend, or it just ain't gonna happen.
No, it's awful.
And that's just one example, is that whole deal. But we've heard horror stories, JR, of people trying to scam people out of money, or goods or
this lady had given them her social security number, signed a piece of paper. Yeah, thought she was dating 70-year-old woman thought she was dating Post Malone for 2 years, but he was playing a game.
Why would you give your?
That's what I'm saying.
I promise you too. Hey, here's
because he likes to play games. She kept saying he just likes to play games to see if I'm real.
Here's another little word of advice for you.
Oh my God!
If you're either real dating Post Malone or fake dating Post Malone, he ain't gonna ask you for your
no money,
for your social security number.
That's what I'm saying. And
he's got enough.
This lady's children were trying to talk sense, and she's in disbelief. And now Dr. Phil's trying to tell her, but he looked up the numbers. It was somewhere in Africa they were scamming the money from. Anyway, so
yeah, I mean these are not even just shady people from right down the road.
No, these are criminals.
These are people who have developed this whole
network,
grand scheme network.
Yeah,
crazy stuff, beyond your belief.
Yeah, go on. If you don't believe it, go on Vice Network. There's a television channel called Vice. Go on there. They've got some. I think it's called Black Markets or something like that. But there's a 6-part series on just that, different ways people scam different things, different places like this, credit card scams, all this different stuff. They get your name, they send it here, they do this. So watch that sometimes because it'll make you sick, really.
I'll give you some advice too. This is the way I handle it. I won't even text or email my social to people that I know it's them.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'll call and say, here's what it is.
Yep.
I'm talking to like you.
Yeah. And if anybody calls
you know what I mean? Or my wife. If my wife texts me and says, what's your social? I ain't texting it back to her.
Right,
I will pick up the phone, talk to her, know that it, because I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right. It's a lot of it out there. You just got to be careful. Don't give up any information. And anybody's calling you asking for money and numbers, if they call you and say that this is I see it down here. They've got one going on like at the power company. The power company says they're calling you and you got to give them this information. Say, whatever, hang up on them. Then call the power company and ask them, did they call you?
Right.
That's the way you call them. If you need something, you call somebody. People shouldn't be calling you, giving you
or
stuff.
Or drive your happy ass to the power company.
Yeah, well, and a lot of times
somebody.
Well, the number one thing they said on that show I watched was it's just lonely people who don't have anybody to talk to, and as soon as they get them talking, they've got them.
Right.
So these people are lonely at home and stuff. But you call if somebody calls you and you're at home, hang up on them, then call the service they claim to be providing, and talk to them because it's sad and I would hate for it to happen. I can remember grandmother not letting granddaddy answer the phone because he would just tell people whatever.
I was gonna say. That's another thing too. I mean, to each their own, obviously. But if I don't have a number saved, I don't answer it.
Me neither. You're gonna leave me a message.
Leave me a message, and if I'll determine whether or not I need to get back with you.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just a safe way. In particular, like you're talking about Pedro.
Yep.
In particular, if you have elderly parents or grandparents, I would certainly encourage them, unless it says,
I wouldn't even answer if it says
daughter, whatever.
If it pops up, because they'll even have where it'll pop up like a hometown near you, and then say U.S. government or some crazy crap. No,
because a lot of times
let them leave a message.
Let them. A lot of times they're trying to see if somebody will pick up.
Yep, and then if you want to start talking, then they try to scam you.
They'll blow you up. Yeah.
Yeah. So y'all be careful on all that out there, but use the hashtag Justin Moore Podcast. Send us questions, comments, anything you have for us, because it's going to be a nice, fun season we've got going here. It's season 4 here at the Justin Moore Podcast. We're starting out the second week of January. Plan on running it up till New Year's like we did last year. One thing I had here
as we're talking about the
go ahead, buddy.
Real quick before we start, as we're talking about the season, obviously it's beginning, season 4, hard to believe. We need to count up how many we've done. It's got to be 80, 90-ish, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, let me look right here and see if
quite a few. We should hit the century mark this year for sure, or this season rather. But just want to say we'll certainly have a lot more great guests this year. We should go through our guests as well, just to remind people. Maybe what we should do, JR, each episode this year, at least when we don't have a guest, maybe every episode, go back and discuss each guest we've had in brief, and maybe play a clip for everybody or something, just to encourage them to go back and listen to those old shows, old episodes. I don't know. I was just thinking about that. But what I was going to say is, as we're talking about this year and getting kicked off, obviously this is the first episode of the season, season 4, episode 1.
This is our 70th episode.
Oh, 70th. Okay, cool.
This is 70th
so we'll definitely go over the century mark this year, because we'll probably do another 40 this year. That's kind of our goal for you guys out there, is to have one, have 40, and that gives us, a few weeks off here and there with travel and stuff. But I'm rambling. We will get brother. To I believe next week we will have the opportunity to announce our new upcoming tour.
Yep.
For the year, and who's going to be on it with us, and we will get that artist who's going out on the road with us. We'll get them on the episode, or on an episode here shortly, to discuss the tour and how excited we are about that. And he or she may or may not have been on this podcast before. Little hint.
Yep, there you go. Yeah.
So just wanted to mention that we'll have that upcoming next week, and that artist on as a guest.
Yeah,
maybe for a second time.
Yeah, and whoever maybe there's multiple artists on this tour, so might have some of them on as well. And yeah, we've talked to some people that we're going to have on this season. We've got a bunch of cool people in the bag to come and be on the show. I actually talked to one of my favorite duos down here from South Alabama that's out making some noise. They got new music coming out soon. I talked to them a couple days ago, and they're going to come on here in a few weeks, so that'll be fun if y'all can take some guesses at that. Speaking of guests we've had on here, Justin, we've had some phenomenal guests, music and entertainment and culture all the way around. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he was asking me about, who you had on, and, who you met this person or that person. And I was thinking about, hell, just on the podcast, I was like, we had Matthew McConaughey on recently, and Marty Smith, and this and that, people that they would know outside of music. I said, hell, we had Bo Duke on,
right.
But I thought this was cool. Our buddies over at Beats Beer and Bonfires social media site. You can check those guys out on Instagram, Twitter, and all that stuff. Beats Beer Bonfires. They had a little contest going that was the Justin Moore podcast musical guest bracket. So it was they did a fan poll thing on who was their favorite musical guest that was on our podcast throughout its entirety. And it came down to the finals are out. I don't know when they're going to close this, but you can get on there when this airs Thursday and still vote. It comes down to the two finalists are one Mr. BG, Brantley Gilbert, and one Mr. RG, Riley Duckman Green. So that's who it goes down to, BG and Riley. So y'all get on there and pick your.
I would have almost thought Rhett would have won. Everybody seems to love the Rhett episode.
Or Kate.
So maybe they're thinking of him as a writer or something.
Right. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Does it say who else was in it?
Yeah, I can go. Let me go back.
Or
and
just the finals? No,
he had on the whole. Well, it's not on here now. I'm sure there's a way I go back and find it. It was some pretty good pairings how it went down. Let me see if I can find the. Well,
I mean, it's not the end of the world.
No, I don't know how I'd find it. It was on it. Yeah, it was, but it was pretty neat how they had it laid out. The different.
That's cool. Thank you guys for doing that. That's cool.
The different stuff. So y'all go in there and vote who you think may be the one. Let's just see what I was putting on here today.
Have you ever passed a construction site where those tough-looking orange and white machines are working? Skid steer loaders, excavators, that's Bobcat. And that's our sponsor for today's episode. Now, if you think of Bobcat as construction equipment only, you should take a look over at Bobcat.com. Bobcat makes mowers, compact tractors, utility vehicles, all kinds of equipment you can use on your personal property. When you have a Bobcat machine in your shed, you'll look forward to that list of projects on the weekend. Go to bobcat.com, visit your local dealer, and see what I mean. Hey, what's up, guys? Justin Moore here. I want to remind everyone out there listening that my wife, Kate, has an awesome children's clothing boutique in downtown Benton, Arkansas at Central Arkansas. So if you're local, come see us at 119 West South Street in downtown historic Benton, Arkansas. Again, that's 119 West South Street in Benton, Arkansas. And if you're not local, we ship everywhere. So you can find us at shopthislittlepiggy.com and see all that we have to offer, all that my wife Kate has to offer, I should say. Facebook, you can find us at shopthislittlepiggyAR. And Instagram, you can find us at shopthislittlepiggyAR. But check us out. It's called This Little Piggy. And see what we got to offer. ShopThisLittlePiggy.com.
Hi, y'all. This is Brandon Bing, singer-songwriter and whiskey maker. You're tuning into the Justin Moore Podcast. Visit EasyLiquor.com to grab your bottle of Bangtail Whiskey and join the Blue Collar Swaller family today. Follow us on all socials at Bangtail Whiskey for more news and updates. Now pour Jigger and take this 8-second ride with us.
Hey, gang. As y'all have heard, the Justin Moore Podcast has recently teamed up with Wrangler. Wrangler has been an icon in authentic American style around the world for more than 70 years. With a rich legacy rooted in the American West, Wrangler commits to offering unmatched quality and timeless design. As y'all have heard me and Justin talk about on here, George Strait and Alan Jackson, they're Wranglers. We wear Wranglers too. Its collections are also for men and women, children, to look and feel great, inspiring those who wear them to be strong and ready for life every day. Wrangler is available in retail stores worldwide, including brand flagship stores in Denver and Dallas, department stores, mass market retailers, specialty shops, Western outfitters, and online. For more information, visit Wrangler.com. And you know you've heard it here, and you've seen it on stage, the Justin Moore Podcast. Dang glad to be partnered up with Wrangler because we're big fans and have been for a long, long time. Can't go wrong with a nice pair of Wranglers, y'all. I wear the Wrangler Retro. Justin wears the black one some. It's my go-to. I get mine at Academy. So if you're around an Academy or just about anywhere, you can get you a pair of Wranglers, whether you want to look like George Strait, or you want to look like JM, or you want to look like me. You can get you some Wranglers, and you can do that. Whether you're in North California or South Alabama or Montana, Texas, Ohio, Wyoming, wherever, a pair of Wranglers will get the job done. Long live cowboys and plowboys. For more information, visit Wrangler.com. I had a guy hit me up. I put a post. This is my post to on Instagram. It was like, congrats to all my dog brothers and sisters. Hell of a team y'all had this year. We'll see y'all down the road. Roll Tide. Guy said, you're always such a good sport about things. Yeah, that's of now. You know, you could push me in a corner and I might change. This is one I've been meaning to ask you about. And I'm going to ask Cody and Pete and the rest of our bunch and figure out who we need to find out this about. But a couple people have asked me, and I had this as a reminder. So for some reason, on your Outlaws Like Me record, when you go on Spotify or iTunes or any of that stuff now, it won't let you play guns. Wonder why that is. It's like everything else is highlight, but you just can't go. Let me look on. I didn't
really.
Look online. Yeah, but
That's the first I've ever heard of that, and I'm not listening to me too often. But if that's a fact, that pisses me off, and I'll get to the bottom of that.
Well, I can get it on iTunes. I can pull it up.
That's what I was going to look at iTunes.
No, I can do it on iTunes. On Spotify, I went to play guns. It looked like Spotify blocked it. Spotify, I guess. We'll have to figure that out. So I don't know. This is from Justin.
I don't even see it on that album. Is that the album it was on?
Yeah, Outlaws Like Me.
Because it's not on my iTunes.
It's track number 9.
There is no track number 9 on mine.
There you
It
go.
goes straight from 8 to 10.
See,
and
on
that's
mine,
iTunes.
And
but that's Apple Music. That's not my library.
See, I'm in my libraries. Might be why I have it.
I shall get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, so there you go.
That to me is a major issue.
Yeah.
Censorship.
Can you believe that?
I have a major problem with that. And to be here, you go live on the air here. We have. This is how our business works.
Yep.
I never knew that. So I will. instantly get on the ball about this. And the other thing that it proves, I wasn't asked if I were okay with this at all. And so, and correct me if I'm wrong, JR. It is in our Constitution that you have the right to bear arms, right?
Correct.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
I thought
well,
so.
and then there's a free speech thing
can
too.
You can, all of you guys out there, can you tell I'm a little PO'd at the moment?
If you could have
I'm
a
little
songs,
flustered and pissed off at the
if you
moment.
go on iTunes and find a song, but songs about shooting and killing people and selling drugs and all this stuff, and we can't have a song like that, you got to be kidding me.
And how about songs like WAP a couple years ago?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The ridiculousness of that stuff. Come on now, ain't no cuss words even in this song. Give me a break. Well, thanks to Justin.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate it because it's the first I've heard of it, but I promise you I'll get to the bottom of it.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm currently I have steam shooting out of my ears.
Justin RB4, Justin, I guess it's Michigan 25, hammers running, his little thing. This guy just put this page. What's Joker catches a lot of fish. If you ever want to go fishing, hang out with this Justin RB4 on there. But thanks, Justin, for sending us that. We're going to get to the bottom of it. Let's see the one I hear.
The other part about that kind of makes me mad is that, I mean, that would be one of the more streamed songs of mine, I would think, JR.
Yeah.
On Spotify. That would probably be one of the more popular ones.
Yeah.
And we haven't played it in a couple of years on stage. I believe for this upcoming tour, we'll just have to throw that back in the set list.
Yes, sir.
So
Dan Walding sent me a picture, watching some music videos and having a few drinks. How about these legends? And it's a picture of you and Charlie Daniels doing a song together from Charlie's Christmas for Kids thing. And he said, that belt buckle, because it's Charlie wearing his big belt buckle.
I go back, I think that was at the Ryman, if I'm not mistaken, either the Ryman or the Opry House. But I go back and watch that fairly, a few times a year. On YouTube, us doing, there's a song called For Some Old Redneck Reason that I had written the last verse with him in mind, and he not only sang on it, but played fiddle on it. And so we were at the Opry together for his event, and I asked him to come out and do it. And just like always, he was always more than happy to help guys out who, certainly wet behind the ears, like myself. And so that was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he was the best, man, no doubt.
Yeah, you can find that on YouTube, by the way. Anybody, it's called For Some Old Redneck Reason, or I don't know, type in my name with Charlie's name and probably find it.
And if you're a new listener to this podcast, Charlie's books are referenced here a lot. The one I'll read from at the end of each episode is Let's All Make the Day Count, the Everyday Wisdom of Charlie Daniels right there. We read from that. And his one that Justin and I've had a lot of use out of and quote religiously is Never Look at the Empty Seats, Charlie's memoirs. That's a great book, so y'all check that out.
We talk about it multiple times a year when we're downtrodden.
Yeah, that's what it'll get. And we meet young people. We tell them that it was a blizzard tonight. Don't look at the empty seats. They're not the ones we're worried about. We're worried about the ones that did show up. That we got to play for them. This is from our buddy Trey Bledsoe. Thanks for asking everyone to pray for Titus. That meant a lot. He was able to come home, and sent me a picture of little Titus with his little sister. So glad he's doing better.
That's great.
Yes, absolutely. What was the other one here? A couple people have hit me in. Hope hangs around for more than a year. Hope JM hangs around for more than a year on the Buzz. He did great today on the first show.
Awesome, thanks, man.
A little while back. Trying to find there was one more that somebody had me. Oh, this is one that I thought that you would get a kick out of because you love this type of music. Hey, JR, I heard a song last night on the radio that I hadn't heard in 20 years or longer. The song was Doug Stone in a Different Light. So I went on Spotify and forgot how many songs he did in the 90s that were so good.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Stone, baby.
I see you in a different light with your hair falling down and love in your eyes. But he had great ones, man. What'd you do with those swinging doors? Where's the sawdust on the floor? Oh, he did one of the greatest songs in country music history. I'd be better off in a pine box on a slow train back to Georgia. I mean, it's one of the greatest country songs ever.
Unbelievable. I can remember we were playing. We used to have a house show called Alabama Line in Nashville. We do every week, and I can remember Doug got up, was doing a song at the show one night, and Jamie. This is before Jamie got it. It's the day Jamie got his record deal, Jamie Johnson, and he came in and walked right up on stage.
Wasn't no partying that day, was it?
No backstage party there. It was at this little bar right there, kind of by Demas's, by the CMT Towers, a little right around the corner. It was like a comedy club, but we used it one night a week to have our little show there for a while. And Doug was up doing Pine Box, and Jamie just walked on stage, and there's mic set up because it's like a open mic almost kind of thing.
I'll play
so
this
Jamie
song
just
with
walks
you.
up and grabs it. Doug didn't know Jamie at the time, I don't think, and Jamie just starts singing. I'm sure Doug's like, "Who is this guy?" And then we went in the back, and Jamie said, "They like my singing. They just signed me the biggest deal in RCA history." And we were like, "Are you shitting me, Jamie?" So we didn't know he was. We were like, he wasn't very excited. Yeah, he's still not very excitable most of the time. But
you go, you talk? What?
Yeah, right. Like, could you be a little more excitable? But yeah, that was it. Doug Stone. He used to pop in every now and then, and he was cool. He would just hang, but he could still sing. And he had some great tunes.
Yeah, man, and don't take that joke about Jamie out there listening as anything but flattery.
Oh yeah, he just
we love Jamie, but just knowing him, he's just
he ain't no big talker.
What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when
he talks as slow as your mom.
He does. I remember. And I still talk slow, but I've developed the ability to talk faster because when I first started doing interviews, I'm talking when I was being interviewed when I first signed my record deal, I would get done with an interview and my label exec or my manager, somebody would be there and they go, you gotta spit it out. You got to bring it a little faster, like, because I'd be going, I wrote this song about, and they're like, come on, they're you can see them over there going, spit it out, and so I developed the ability to do that. I still don't talk fast, but my mom, for those out there listening, that's what always used to crack me up. People would, back when I read comments and stuff, people would be like, his accent's fake. It's too much. He goes overboard on playing up the country thing. I'm like, have you ever heard me speak any differently than I speak right now in my 15-year career?
Right.
And if I took on a different or a fake accent, you think this would be it? You think this is what I'd choose?
Put on this charade for 15 years?
Yeah, that would be so tiresome. And but I always tell people, I'm like, if these people that say these things ever heard my mom, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, that ain't fake."
Right,
that ain't
right.
fake.
Hey, speaking of fake, and we just talked about, how funny is this? I just got a few minutes ago a Instagram message here from Justin Moore. It's a picture of you, Just, and it says it's Justin Moore Fans Club on Instagram, and he goes, "Hi JR, how are you? Hello fan, how are you doing? How long have you been my fans?" So prime example, somebody trying to catfish me, trying to pretend to be you right now on Instagram.
The godparent of 3 of my children.
You're right. So, sorry, Justin Moore Fans Club. You're getting reported. I'm about to tell you to burn in hell, you crook. So there's that.
That's a great example for people. JR is not only my tour manager, also one of my best friends in the world, and the godparent to my children. And it even happened to him. So if you're in Columbus, Ohio, or Louisville, Kentucky, or San Diego, California, it can certainly happen to you. But the other thing I thought about JR is if you didn't believe it before, you believe now. Your phone's listening to you.
Yes, for sure, all the time. Got a message here from our buddy Mark Cooper. Looking forward to getting back on there. Oh, they were saying how good KC Pine Tar did.
He did great. I was actually going to bring him up. We look forward to seeing him at a show. Him and his, I think he said he was going to bring his wife, maybe, to a show this year from the contest that we had. So he gets to pick anywhere he wants to go. I'll be curious to see. He's probably waiting on this tour announcement next week to determine where he wants to go.
Got one here from Natasha Marie. It was really long but sweet. Just saying, enjoy the podcast, do a good job. Fan of Justin as long as he's been an artist.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that was Natasha Kilgore asking about merch. We'll have some. We will have signed cowboy hats at the shows this year, as far as autograph.
And we'll have some new merch as well.
We definitely we approved. I saw Justin approved a bunch of cool new merch. I think they did a great job on it. It looks killer.
Yeah.
I look forward to wearing some of the
Got
swag
some camo
myself.
stuff, if I'm remembering correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're on the Q&A stuff, if you guys don't mind, if you send JR something for us to discuss on the podcast or a question to answer, if any of you guys listen to the Buzz, me on the morning show, just put that. I'll be curious to know. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying if you do, let us know, because I'd be curious to know how many people are, and also where you're from.
Yeah.
And if you're in Arkansas, I'd be curious to know the town or the area.
Mm-hmm. That'd be neat. Yeah. This is one from Casey Seaford. That's how you pronounce it. What's up, Casey? He just said, just wanted to thank you guys for spending the time to make the podcast. I always enjoy hearing the stories. I love the segment about the songs that were number one on the day your guests were born. We appreciate your efforts in putting shows on in these crazy times. I've gone to many of Justin's shows over the last decade, and he was my first show since the shutdown in Bay City, Michigan. It made my summer. Thank you, guys.
Oh, wow.
Shout out, Casey. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you for listening. It's so funny, JR, because when we started this, we thought, man, I don't know if anybody wants to hear or see this. But, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And here we are 70 episodes in. And, and honestly, when I was asking artist buddies initially, hey, will you come on and do this? I kind of was a little embarrassed because I'm asking them on as a guest, and I don't really consider what we do interviewing. We kind of just have conversations, but
right.
Theoretically, I guess it is interviewing them, but it's I was like, I felt as though I had to explain in the early going, like, hey, this is what you're doing. This is why we're doing this, and if you remember back, we started this when we were shut down. That's why we started doing it. And so the fact that now you guys have validated it to a degree, we don't really have to explain to people, in places like the website you mentioned earlier, who had the
Beats Beer and Bonfires.
Yeah, Beats Beer and Bonfires and
Whiskey Riff.
Whiskey Riff, yeah, the
Race
Morning
Rowdy, all
Hangover,
those, yep.
different places like that have legitimized it to a point, and obviously you guys listening and watching, now we have I know JR has artists and managers and stuff reach out and say, hey, can we get on? So I just want to take the time to say thank you for that. We appreciate it very much, and it's been kind of neat to see that people have enjoyed it as much as they have, because again, we had no idea when we first started. We thought, we'll just get on here and bullshit and see what happens, and if people
Right.
like it, great, and if they don't, that's cool too, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's kind of neat to see where it started. In particular, if you go back and listen to those first 10, 15 episodes, we had absolutely zero clue what we were doing, number one. And number two, we didn't know what we were even trying to do.
Right.
So it's kind of funny. We had all kinds of technical issues. We got them out late because we didn't know how to send them via Dropbox or whatever it was. And now we're pretty streamlined now.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know,
I don't want to jinx it, but yeah, we've come
we
a long ways.
I will say the greatest probably decision that we made in terms of the podcast was let's do it during the day.
Daytime, yes, weekday daytime was definitely.
Yeah, let's do it during the day because there was a point where we were doing them at night, and
we were more like Willie and Waylon there for a little while.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that we do it in the afternoon. I won't have one cocktail while we're doing it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I got to think. I have to have a little nip of the spirit here from our wonderful sponsor, Bangtail Whiskey. Here, old Bing keeps me supplied with these, and get me one little nip just to get the juices flowing before we kick it off.
Exactly.
Daytime. But just let me think I'm honky tonking again.
Total different ball game than it was early on.
Yes.
I mean, I think it was the first episode. It was one of the earlier ones that, and somebody called the morning show and talked about this recently too. One of the earliest episodes, if not the first one, where I passed out under my desk and Kate yelled at me.
That was like episode 4 or 5. Yeah, you had fell asleep under your desk and forgot to push stop record, and it recorded for like 3 hours while you snored.
Recorded me snoring and
Kate came
probably
and found
farting and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, the raw video was even better than what we put out. But I can remember us even being excited about like when we got our little microphone stands and stuff. We'd be so excited. We got a new piece of something. This is going to work now.
And me get my office finally set up.
Yes.
I used to have my guitar sitting right here on a trash can.
Yeah, you used to have just stuff piled up.
Yeah.
And mine still looks junky, but and I wanted to have a new studio set up for this season, and I'm going to. I actually have gotten some new things and a new setup, and I'm going to turn my desk back to where it was in season 1. And at some point during this season, it's going to be like, boop, oh, JR's in a new studio. It's the same studio. I'm just going to redecorate. I've got some new stuff I want to put up. And
I'm not saying you're junky at all.
Yeah.
That's your personality, though.
Yeah.
You're a little extra.
Yeah, extra.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been looking today, and I find a new poster or something every day or every time we do this, and I was looking up as I was thinking about guests we've had. We haven't had Cody on, and I just see that picture when he and I did a show together or whatever. Yeah. I'm like, we need to get Cody on.
Yeah, for sure.
Cody Johnson. For those not looking right now, I'm talking about Cody Johnson.
Kojo for sure. Yeah, that'd be a good
talked to him in a while.
Yeah, it's been great, man. It's really been fun, and getting to talk to all these people and hopefully help some people out. Like you've always said, I've heard you say, and you I would have never done this had I not been around you as long as I have and know how to use my word. I was always a good locker room talker, but never was really, as far as most people, I just didn't have the wherewithal to know how to put it together in a way everybody could get it and without using my salty language and stuff. But being around you long enough and knowing how to do it, it kind of, gave me enough confidence to even try. It's been fun and I always heard you say using your platform for good. And I thought, well, this just gives us another angle for that. And luckily we've been able to do that. I feel, by people sending in things and trying to help and stuff. So, using it for positive and as far as for your career, us staying engaged with fans and stuff. And I get calls all the time. Shout out to my buddy Brent Long, who is Brad Paisley's tour manager, who's a listener. I talk to Brent every couple of months.
Legendary
legend. Absolutely. So he and his wife moved back from Austin to Nashville full time. And he said the whole time during the trip, they just listened to the podcast one to the other. And
Isn't that crazy? So, I would never have thought that.
Yeah. And just
it's awesome though.
And artist buddies will text me something. Yeah, I didn't know so and so did that, and I'm like, I didn't know you were listening. But yeah, it's so cool. It's just been great, and I hope we can do it for a long time. And I always say life's about balance. We're gonna find balance with the radio show, with this, and with back touring, and we're gonna get it all dialed in. And there's gonna be balance and harmony back in our country and our world, hopefully sooner than later. And it's just gonna be good times, man. But talking about using the platform for good, here's somebody needing some help here. Griffin Hauser or Hosier. Griffey Hosier 99 on Instagram. He said he had messaged the JM account. He messaged me too. I'm from Harts Creek, West Virginia. Just like to reach out and ask a prayer for my mother. She got diagnosed with stage 3 pancreatic cancer in August. My grandmother just beat stage 3 lung cancer in December. Love y'all, man. You're my Hank.
Wow.
Hashtag Justin Moore podcast. So we need to make sure everybody.
Much. That's the highest compliment.
Throw a shout out to Griff and his fam.
Thank you.
And little prayers to everybody.
Thoughts and prayers, no doubt about it. He's talking about using your platform for good, man. I've always said this too, and I must have heard this at some point somewhere along the way. I'm not smart enough to have thought of this on my own, but it's really simple, but it's so true. If you change somebody's day, you might change their life.
Yep.
Meaning, you might be at Walmart or McDonald's or wherever, and you get somebody to crack a smile, whether it be a joke you tell or just saying hello, how you doing today, whatever. When they might be in the darkest moment of their life. You never know, and it may save their life. They may, not to get too deep, but I always try to do that. Whether you're just speaking to somebody or whatever the case may be, and not as me, the country artist, just me as a human being. So,
yeah, it's a great philosophy and to go by, no doubt, 100%.
And that's another reason, like, people were like going. I mean, I've even had buddies go, "What in the world are you doing, getting up that early? We know you don't need it. We know you don't, the job or whatever, the money, whatever." I said, "Man, I've always wanted to be known for more than just a country singer, and I kind of look at it as giving back to Arkansas too. I feel like I have a wealth of knowledge. I don't have experience on the radio in the capacity in which I'm doing it, but I'm an entertainer, and it's entertaining. I love to entertain people, and what we do, we laugh, we make fun of ourselves, we make people feel smarter because we're idiots, and we're putting smiles on people's faces at 6 a.m, and I don't know, there's a joy in that for me. And it's a change of pace as far as getting up early and stuff like that for me, and it's an added workload that I don't necessarily need. But I don't know. I thought, man, you could go put that into effect even more. Instead of laying in bed being a lazy ass, you can get up and go. Like I said, you change somebody's day, you might change their life, and who knows? At 6:15 one morning, something I may say on the radio may change somebody's day.
Yep.
And the other thing too is having kids, man. And I watch my dad do this, and I've often thought how I could teach my own kids the same lesson. Is my dad had a really successful career with the Postal Service, and when his mom, my grandmother, who passed last year, and my grandfather, who passed recently, my mom's dad, when they got in poor health, my mom had to quit her job, and so my parents needed extra money, honestly. I mean, they just, he had a successful career, but they needed some extra, in order to take vacations and help pay for stuff with my grandparents and while they were taking care of them. And my dad went and waited tables at Cracker Barrel 2 or 3 nights a week. And I always admired, and this was well into my career, well after I had made it, so to speak. And so it was always something I took note of and was kind of taken aback by, that he wasn't above doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I thought, wow, like he's pretty high level at his career. His son is a successful country music artist. I'm thinking how the outside world would think about it, not myself. Right. And he's not above going and doing that. And I thought, man, that's pretty admirable. And so, the other thing with this radio show is, rather than piddle fart around the house looking for stuff to do while I'm at home, I thought, I can get up and go to work. Like Pedro always said, go to work.
Do something.
Go do something. And I thought it would be maybe a possible way for me to teach my kids the same lesson that my dad taught me, and he wasn't doing it to teach me a lesson, but he did.
Yeah, it was out of necessity, but yeah.
I do what I do for a living, and my career is what it is. But I thought, I wonder what, if my kids would maybe kind of at some point down the road look at it and go, golly, Dad did that, but he wasn't above getting up and doing morning talk radio just in Arkansas. So I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but
yeah, it definitely sets the tone. 'Cause like you said, your dad wasn't doing it intentionally then, and it instilled a lesson in you and a value in you that you're still trying to pass on to your children. So it makes total sense, man.
Just work ethic is basically it.
Yep.
I mean, they see me work hard in my other stuff, but a lot of it they don't see. They don't see the 2 a.m. emails that I have to put fires out, behind the scenes and that kind of stuff, and difficult conversations or decisions that have to be made that come along with being an artist, or when they come out on the road, they just see they get to go backstage at SeaWorld or what, whatever. So I thought it might be an opportunity for me to kind of show them, hey, you got to work hard. You got to, have a great work ethic.
Put the work in. No doubt. Well, I'm going to reply to this guy, Justin Moore Fans Club, and let him know. So y'all stay clear out there, everybody, of scams and fakers in this new world we're in. And I want to wish everybody a happy 2022. It's going to be a big year here on the podcast, on the Morning Mayhem Show with Justin on the Buzz, and out on the road touring on this big tour, which next week we're going to tell you what it's called, who all's going to be on it with us. So y'all make sure to tune back in then. And we'll have some more comments and fan Q&A, and may have a guest next week. Who knows? I'm going to be actually, Justin, we talked about it yesterday. I'm going to be recording mine remotely likely next week because
you'll have a new studio next week.
I will. I sure will, because Sharice and I are leaving as the day this drops, this Thursday. Sharice and I will be heading down to the Keys. We're going down to Key West for a week. So next week's episode, my end, will likely be from Key West, unless I can't do it and we have to skip next week. But I'll try to give you all a heads up if there's not internet there or something. I'm sure it is, but we'll have to see when we get there. But if not, we'll be back next week. Speaking of that, this kind of just was randomly something I read this morning and put it on my Instagram story. But we had mentioned Charlie and things, and this is not going to be my read for the day. I'll give y'all one of those after we're done, but I wanted to drop this because I just thought it was a good one today. Facing the truth of reality, the fact that things aren't what – the facts that – start that over, sorry, boys and girls. Facing the truth of reality, the fact that things are what they are and not what we wish they were is the only way to deal with the real world. Seek truth, then answers. Let's all make the day count. Total sense.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
So, anyway, well, that's about all I got for today, Jay, unless you got anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here. I know we've got, like I said, all this new stuff we want to put on next week, so we can't really tease that anymore or give any info yet. But
yeah, I just have one other thing to mention. It gets out of pride. So, I don't think you and I have even spoken about this because it just recently happened a day or two ago, but so my wife grew up in Louisiana where JR's did, and like a lot of folks down there, she grew up Catholic. I grew up Baptist, and we don't really talk too much religion or politics or anything, but I want to talk about this for a moment because I'm proud of it. So my wife has gone to church with me here in my hometown where I'm a member, First Missionary Baptist Church. Again, I grew up Baptist, and so she's gone to church with me here for 20 years now, on and off, and really been heavily involved. I shouldn't say heavily, been involved in our church and going for, we've lived back in Arkansas now for, I believe, 11 years, something like that, and been back in my hometown for between 5 and 6 years, and so really the last 5-6 years been going a lot, and Big decision for her, but she chose to join our church.
Awesome.
As an official member, which is a really big step. It's changing religions, and but she did that for, obviously herself, her walk with Christ, but our family. And so I wanted to mention that. Super happy about that. She'll be getting baptized next week, along with my oldest daughter, who's 11, almost 12. Matter of fact, her birthday's a month from today. Well, the day that we're recording this. So she walked the aisle yesterday. She was saved a couple of year and a half ago, something like that, and walked the aisle a couple of days ago at church. And so Kate and Ella will be getting baptized together this coming Sunday. So I just wanted to mention that. And also Kennedy, about a month ago, was saved. So that's our 10-year-old daughter. So really proud of them and happy for them. And tell you what, as a dad, there's not much more that swells your chest up than knowing that your kiddos are going to be in heaven with you.
Right.
And so I'm not preaching to anybody. I've never shied away from the fact that I'm a Christian, and I'm proud to be one, and I certainly am not as good a one as I want to be. But just wanted to mention that because it's a really exciting time in our household because of those things. So
yeah, that's awesome, brother.
For sure. Also, Audrey
right here. Sorry.
is getting baptized.
Brock
Brock's
and Diane's little girl.
daughter. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's very cool.
Really
man.
exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, hell, it's been forever since I've seen the kids, man. We were talking about basketball on the phone the other day, and I'm like, they're probably a foot taller than last time I saw them. So
yeah, we just had our first game canceled due to the C word.
Oh,
and
really?
And I just got a text a few minutes ago, actually, as we're recording this, that school's going virtual because there's so many teachers and kids out for a few days, not like long term. But so this new variant, is just super. I guess easy to spread. But
I've literally got texts while we've been on the phone as well. My text and my Homa guys, some of them and their kids, some negative, some positive.
Yeah.
Doctor told us so aggressive but very mild symptoms, only taking 12 to 24 hours to show up on tests, where the old version sometimes wouldn't get detected 4 to 5 days after exposure. So yeah, hopefully everybody stays safe. Don't want anybody to get sick. Hopefully it'll run through fast and not too aggressive, and it'll be over before we know it. And this thing will keep getting lighter and lighter and lighter to where it's something we can all live with and get back to normal. Sooner than later.
That's the hope.
Yeah. Wanted to say real quick, shout out on some music stuff. Everybody, thank y'all for calling your radio station and downloading and listening with the woman you love. Still rocking on the charts. Appreciate y'all for that. I don't have the charts in front of me. I'd give you updates on what's where and what numbers with our friends and family of the podcast right now in the charts, but I don't have it right now. So next week next podcast we do, I'll have an update on the charts numbers. But here I saw some cool stuff I wanted to put out. I know January 20th, Jack Ingram, Randall Lambert, and John Randall doing the Marfa tapes, which on Paramount Network. That's January 20th. That'll be something to watch. That should be cool. I think it's just them, the whole recording and making of that album.
Jack Miranda and who?
John Randall, songwriter.
John, okay.
Mm-hmm. He was an artist too at one point.
Yeah.
Our buddy Kip Moore has got a new song coming out, Crazy One More Time, on the 24th of January. So y'all be looking out for that. Oh, got to say, a big shout out, talking about the charts. One I do know is a friend of you and I's, who's a brother, and just love his guy. I can't call him kid because he's not a kid, but Michael Ray, our buddy Michael Ray, just had his 4th number 1 with Whiskey and Rain. So he had the number 1 song this past week on the charts.
Have we had Michael on?
No, we talked to him about it, and we just didn't.
Yeah, we need to get him on.
Yeah, soon. Yeah. That'll be a good one to have on.
We definitely need to get, especially now that he just had his 4th number 1. We need to get him on.
You can talk about that a little bit. So congrats, Mike, on that. Brothers Osborne got a deluxe album coming out. Maddie and Tay got a deluxe coming out this month. I saw our buddy Hot Rod Rodney Atkins and his wife Rose Falcon, a.k.a. Rod and Rose, putting an album out called Put Me Back Together. Comes out on the 28th, the same day as another friend of ours, Aaron Lewis, talking about some censorship there. Boy, they sure
need to get Aaron on, too.
Yeah, because he had a song that should have been number one this year. They wouldn't even play. But Frayed at Both Ends is his new album. It'll be coming out on the 28th of January. Then in February, two Arkansas guys back-to-back are one of my favorite modern country singers. Joe Nichols has got an album coming out, Good Day for Living, on the 11th.
Awesome.
Is that Ken's birthday?
What'd you say?
February 11th?
That's Ella's.
Ella's birthday, I meant. Yeah, Ella's birthday.
She'll be 12. Yeah.
Wow. You went from
Crazy.
wiping her butt to now she's 12. She can probably whoop my butt now. And then the one we're super excited here on the podcast about is the Walmart exclusive vinyl, red vinyl, coming out on February 25th of the Justin Moore Greatest Hits. So y'all make sure to order that if you hadn't already. But that's what's coming up on the next month or two of stuff we listen to and want to support there. So that's that. I wanted to say, too, we mentioned earlier, we're thankful for our sponsors that are here on the Justin Moore podcast. But if you work somewhere or know somebody or own a company or something, would like to or might be interested in advertising or sponsors in the Justin Moore podcast, shoot me a message on that. I'll put you in touch with Cody and we can work out something on that deal, because always looking to partner with cool people and products and companies that we support what they do and have common goals. So put that out there. But that's about it on my end. Thanks for everybody for tuning in this week. This was Season 4, Episode 1, Episode 70 total of the Justin Moore podcast.
Wow.
And I look forward to doing it again here soon. Thank y'all for listening to the podcast. Thank y'all for sport and country music. Y'all go listen to Justin on the Buzz if you want to hear some sports. And we'll have some more music to talk about here in a week or so.
For sure. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in today. We appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show. And again, big announcement next week on tour, who's going with us, where we'll be. And then shortly after that, we'll have he or she on the podcast, maybe for the second time.
There you go. Might be a hint.
So thank you guys. We appreciate it. We'll see y'all next week. Happy New Year. Happy 2022.
All right. Cheers, everybody.
This episode was brought to you by Bobcat. Check them out at bobcat.com.
For any of you first-time listeners out there, at the end of each of our episodes, I like to do a little reading out of a book I've had that I've got a lot of use out of over the years. The book is by Mr. Charlie Daniels, and the book is called Let's All Make the Day Count, The Everyday Wisdom of Charlie Daniels.
Number 34, real respect and false pride. Blessed are the meek, and for they shall inherit the earth. Matthew 5:5. Many people in the public eye are extremely image conscious. They pay public relations firms thousands of dollars a year to help them protect their personal and characteristics the way they want the public to perceive them as having. Many times the images are true reflections. They are admired by the like-minded segment of the public as being an outdoorsman, a sports enthusiast, or one with certain political and social beliefs, or whatever the image may be. However, if they are found to be a charlatan who appears to be only thing and is really another, and word spreads, the admiration wanes. I have met people that, judging by their public persona, I had a favorable preconceived opinion of, only to find out they were impatient, snobbish, and downright rude. I never felt the same way about that person again, not a feeling of abhorrence, but of disappointment. Presenting yourself to be something you're not, claiming belief that you have no conviction of, public humility and private arrogance eventually catches up with those who travel with that fickle path. There's a lot to be said for just being yourself, privately and publicly. Trying to be someone other than who you really are is an exercise in futility. Let's all make the day count.